today I'm going to be showing you how to harvest, dry, and store your herbs for the season. Okay guys, so the first thing we're going to harvest today is mint. And what you want to do is, on your mint, is you want to come and find a place where two leaves meet. It's called a node. And you want to clip off your mint right above that node, because that's where your plant will continue to bush out and continue to grow. And here is a perfect example of that. You can see here where I cut off a branch before, right there, and then from there two new branches sprouted. So that's what will happen when you cut right above one of these nodes, then two new branches will come out of there, and that's what you want. You want your plant to continue to bush out and grow. Okay everybody, so you saw me harvest some of the herbs, and like I said whenever I was showing you the mint is the only one that I really pay attention to whenever I'm harvesting it, like where I put my cuts, just because you want to look for that node and you want your plant to continue to grow. The same is for basil, which I didn't show cutting today, and I'm not going to be drying any of that today. I actually like to make more pesto and stuff like that with my basil as opposed to drying basil. So that's really the only one that I pay attention to when I'm cutting. The other ones I kind of just cut whatever I want to harvest, so the amount, or maybe I want to take the whole plant back or whatever. So today I'm going to be showing you how to dry thyme, rosemary, lavender, mint, and some chives that I'll be showing you here in a little bit. So there's three different main ways that I see of drying herbs, and I'm going to show you two today and talk about the third one. The third method of drying herbs that I'm not going to show you today is with a dehydrator. Now this method of drying herbs I have never tried. I don't know what that's like. I'm sure it's a much faster process. And basically what you are going to do to dry your herbs is you want to take off the leaves or whatever. For thyme you can leave it on the stems just because the leaves are so small. But you want to lay the leaves or the stems out on a very even surface in your dehydrator. You don't want them stacked on top of each other at all. Then you're going to put it in your dehydrator, and it takes a few hours and then they're done. So that one's pretty easy. You do have to have a dehydrator. You do have to use electricity and that kind of stuff. So that's one method, and I've never actually done that one because to me drying herbs is so simple that it almost complicates things to have to wash a dehydrator and all this other kind of stuff, which to me just is not necessary. Okay, so the method that I'm going to show you, the first one today, is simply just hanging the herbs up. So first step in drying your herbs, no matter what method that you're using to dry them, is you need to harvest them and then wash them thoroughly. So you just want to run some water over them, make sure that there's no bugs or dirt or debris, anything like that in your herbs. This is the time to clean them before you start the drying process. So you're just going to go through, you're going to rinse them off really well, and then you're going to set them out to dry a bit. Now these are not perfectly dry, and that's okay for what I'm doing. This first method. If you're doing the second method that I'll show you, you want them to be pretty dry. The first method is you simply I'll show you with the lavender here because I don't have very much today. I actually harvest my lavender. I cut the whole plant back in fall is when I like to do it. If you do it in fall, you need to make sure that you mulch up the crown of the plant with some mulch or some leaves or grass clippings or whatever. But let me just show you. I wanted to do kind of a complete comprehensive video of drying herbs. So I kind of wanted to show you all the herbs that I had and how to dry them. So you want to take some bundles. Now you don't want the bundles to be too big because you don't want the herbs inside to not dry properly. So if I had like this one whole big bundle, the herbs that are inside may not dry as well as some of the ones on the outside. So you just want to make sure that you don't get too many bundles. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 stems here of lavender, and I'm simply going to take my string. You can take any kind of baling twine or jute twine or anything really, doesn't really matter, just any kind of rope that you have. Twist it around it a little bit. I'm gonna tie it off. And then I'm going to leave a little bit of a tail on my string. And I'm just gonna cut that. So I can go ahead and hang this up. Now, to hang these up, you wanna hang them up somewhere where they are out of direct sunlight. So somewhere that is shaded, and you want somewhere that is going to stay around 50 degrees or higher. And you want somewhere that has kind of a low humidity. So I was thinking about hanging them in my basement, but my basement has a high humidity point, so that would not be very good. So somewhere you need to find where it's going to be out of direct sunlight, the humidity isn't going to be too high. You can hang these in your kitchen, that would be great. You can hang them in like a shed or something like that, up in a garage, somewhere where they won't be disturbed, and somewhere where they can just hang out and dry. Now it takes about a week for these to dry, depending on humidity in the air and things like that. If you're having like a lot of rain, it's very humid outside, it might take a little longer, but it's usually about a week to dry these. So obviously then the dehydrator method would be a lot faster, but that would only be a few hours, but it's up to you however you'd like to do it. If you don't mind waiting, if you need the herbs right away or whatever, you know, then you can just throw them in the dehydrator and do it that way. So I'm gonna get the rest of these tied up, and then I'll show you the second way of drying herbs. Okay, so I got all the herbs that I'm going to dry by hanging tied up into bundles, and I got quite a few bundles out of that. One tip that I could give you as well is that when you are tying your bundles, make sure that the string that you're putting around your herbs is really tight, and you tie it nice and securely, because the herbs will start to shrink as they dry. So just make sure that it's nice and tight so they don't start falling out as they dry. Okay, so the second method that I'm going to show you today is actually a method that you could do with any of those other ones that I just did. And basically what you want to do is you either want to pull off the leaves or you want to chop the herb, and then you're going to lay it out on a cookie sheet. Here I have a silicone mat. You can also do parchment paper or something like that, okay? So that it doesn't stick at all as it dries. Then you are going to, like I said, chop or pull all the leaves off. Like with the rosemary, it's super easy. You just pull the long strings off. You can chop them a little bit if you want, or you can just leave them whole. The thyme as well, you just pull off all the little thyme leaves and you lay them out. Now this one you want to put out in the sun, and you're going to mix it every once in a while just to make sure that the herbs are drying evenly. And it'll only take a few hours for herbs like this to dry. Also, you want to make sure that your herbs are in a single layer. You don't want like a big pile. They're not going to dry. You want to make sure it's a nice flat single layer. So I'm going to go ahead and chop up these chives and I'm going to put them on the mat then. The reason I like to dry chives this way is I find that chives get a bit brittle when they dry, and I don't know, I think it's easier just to chop them first, let them dry, and then store them. So let me get these chopped up. Okay, now that the chives are all chopped up, I'm just going to spread them out on this mat. And if there's too many, you need to obviously get another cookie sheet or whatever. I've got a bunch of seed heads in here from my chives going to seed. Okay, this last little bit, I think this will be okay. So, let me show you there. So like I said, I'm going to set this one out into the sun and let the sun just dry and finish baking these. And then I'm going to come in and just toss them every once in a while, making sure that they get evenly dried. And these will be done by the end of the day today, most likely. If not today, because it's about midday now, tomorrow they'll be done. I'll bring them inside if they're not done tonight, and I'll put them back out for a few hours tomorrow if they're not quite done drying. Okay, so now I'd like to talk to you guys a little bit about storing your herbs that you've dried. So after the herbs are all done drying, the ones that are hanging, we're going to just pull off all of the dried herbs, all of the dried leaves, and put them into a container of some sort. These ones we'll just have to literally pick up and put into a container. Now personally, I like to store my stuff in mason jars, glass containers. I like to get like little quart size or something like that, little cute jars, and get like a nice lid for the top of them, and that usually keeps them really nice and sealed and fresh for a good while. I go through my spices pretty quickly, but they should last me throughout the winter, at least until next season. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful getting to see how to dry some of these herbs. If you guys have a different way of drying herbs that you'd like to share with me, I would love to hear it. Go ahead and share it in the comments so we can all read it and all learn. I love to hear other people's experiences and how they do things. If you use the dehydrator method, let me know in the comments below how that works for you. If you prefer the dehydrator method, if it's worth getting the dehydrator out and all that, or if it's okay to just hang it for you. Yeah, so let me know in the comments below. Well guys, we'll see you in the next video.